the climate of the times, it was like a business school. And as a creative, you're finding people who are like you. And it's very normal when you're in your early 20s or late teens, you're looking for that identification. And so Malate was a kind of refuge from that. But then also this was a time because the context of the work was I I was inspired by and I referenced a fashion editorial from I don't know if this magazine still exists from New York. It's called Visionary Magazine or VMag. So it was a very popular magazine back then. And then I think now you can still find it at specialty bookstores. And I referenced that fashion editorial. And because this was during the time where I was in Malate, wherein I really had aspirations to become a designer. I wanted to go to London and study at Central St. Martin's. I had that delusion. Until you realize that going to fashion school is not just going to fashion school and coming up with the funds for it. And then later on, I found a calling in art. So this one was kind of like a crucial time for me, like looking back. I would just have to say, like my time in LaSalle and my time at Malate was like a time that kind of put me into a place where I wanted to be as an artist. And yeah, like what Gwen said, there was an affection for Wong Kar Wai. And then me being very particular with my film history, I went back to the references of Wong Kar Wai. So this was why I ended up liking going further into Godard and all these other French directors. So it was just a nice it was a nice ambiance. But then after that time, I had to exit Malacca because of the probationary status that was given to me. But then I think I look back now at that time because it kind of put me into place. Because it's like I felt like, okay, I cannot grow my wings in LaSalle, and then probably I sought another place. And this was a queer awakening for me. Like I was still secretly in the closet while I was still in LaSalle. And then when I got out and suddenly started to go out of the country, that was when I realized like working with institutions and museums across Europe and around Asia, wherein I found my calling and these ideas for queerness. So and even daring to work about HIV and AIDS histories from the Philippines, which is still nowadays, I think now going out, coming from this period, was a time that enabled me to really find my focus and my angle. And I guess this work also still, in a way, resonates to me. It was that happened to me like sometime in the early 2000. I think because this was the time that represented the time when I wanted to become a fashion designer. And then I had a time where I wanted to also become a fashion photographer until that time wherein I just really fell out of love of fashion. But then it would always emanate my love for these kinds of like collecting issues of French Vogue, and I would always love reading all these things, like the stories and the profiles, and at the same time how they're inspired by cinema. So it's just this nice mix. And then I think this work would later on bring me when I got into a fashion photography prize. It's called Pipetto in Paris, wherein it was together with Paolo Roversi. Paolo Roversi was one of the juries, and I think that was like my sense of like fulfillment. Like even if step back from fashion, like being a Filipino finalist in a major fashion photography prize, wherein the work wasn't intentionally about fashion. So I guess Malacca was like it's also this time like a nurturing place where you find people with all these eccentricities, and then you can share references. And I would remember some of the editors there would always have a Szymborska book or Louis Gluck. So this was why sometimes I would reluctantly pick up a Louis Gluck book when I'm in my travels. So this kind of culture, like sharing your references, and it's just nice to reconnect because I've been notorious for not returning to LaSalle. I think this is the first time I've returned since 2009. So yeah, it's been a surreal moment and kind of like retrieval or kind of like resolving things from the home. And yeah, so I'm very happy to impart with you, with everyone. And yeah, it was also a surprise for me that this was selected and I had to be transparent sharing the story about what happened with that thing. And I guess it was being inspired from fashion editorial, and I turned it into a painting. And back then, I was just a communication art student, and I didn't know my art theory. And then I knew all the art theory coming from Warhol and all these people who just copy reluctantly. And then if I say this to an art professor I've had in Europe, he would say, "You're just doing something like what everyone who has their armature of art theory and history would do." So I think it was more of like intimating something that was mass produced, and I wasn't able to defend that with my editors. So I guess it's still like a beautiful walk back to a memory that always made me feel uneasy. But at the same time, it was a crucial part that played in my trajectory as an artist, and really finding the places where like finding the safe spaces and the spaces and publics where people would resonate to your work and get you 1000%, and not just in fragments of who you are. So